our next session is a panel, and it's going to look at the role of technology in operator strategy. And the question we're going to talk about centrally is whether technology drives the strategy or whether technology is the means of delivering the strategy. So I'll ask each of you to introduce yourself, please, and give us a little taste of your thinking on this. So I'll start, please, Matteo, with you.
Good morning. Matteo Gatta. I actually changed job very recently, so I'm in charge of one of the Proximus subsidiaries since actually the beginning of the week, but I wanted to keep the participation to this panel. So I'm the CEO of BIX as of Tuesday, actually, so 2 days ago. Before that, I've been very heavily involved, and I'm very heavily involved on the technology side, also in my new job. Technology has been the foundational element of our, certainly both in terms of investment in our infrastructure, but also in terms of delivering of service. And my role has been basically until last week to be in charge of the long-term investment plan of Proximus Group, and also to look at the innovation in services and in platforms.
Okay, thank you. Kirsi?
Oh, well, yes. Good afternoon or good morning to everyone. And then first of all, congratulations, Matteo. Nice to hear all about your new position.
Thank
you. First of all, I come from Elisa, a telco operator in Estonia and Finland. Personally, my current role, my current job is Elisa Automate. I'm leading automation business, which links to the strategy and the technologies very well, since automation has been in the heart of Elisa strategies for years, for a number of years, to the extent that we've actually spun off our automation innovation to a software company. Today, operating kind of under the corporate name of Polestar, and where I am personally driving the automation business. So that's kind of the background. And then a couple of words kind of on the approach. So is the technologies, is it driving the strategy, or is it kind of the other way around, that it's kind of a tool to deliver and implement the strategy? I think, the CSPs, the telcos, they each and everyone have a unique situation with the market, with the customers, with the infrastructure and capabilities at hand at the moment. So in that sense, I'm quite sure this varies. However, how I see it and how it's kind of been built in Elisa strategy is that the strategy is all about the customer, on how to build a culture of efficiency. So how to build a compelling service to customer and reach it to customer. And then secondly, how to do that in a cost-efficient way, which leads to a good business.
So really, it's looking at the customer and then figuring out how to deliver, rather than we've got this box of tricks, what should we do with it?
Exactly. Then when you start from there, and you cascade, you look at your strategy to the detail more and more, then of course there comes the 5G, there comes the cloud, there comes the automation as kind of a means and vehicles to deliver the best service for the customer. So it's very much the latter. Was it latter? It's a tool to deliver.
Okay, Biswajit, what about you? What's your thinking on this?
Right. Thanks, Annie. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Biswajit. Briefly about my role, I'm responsible for devising the technology roadmap for Tecnotree. And I pretty much agree with what Kirsi said. End of the day, what matters is the value that we generate for the end customers. And in that sense, whether you are a telco operator yourself or you are somebody who is helping the telco operator to achieve that, end of the day, what matters is the value that we are generating for the customers. And in that sense, technology provides that platform and the vehicle to deliver that. And the primary role I believe nowadays technology is playing is to go from 0 to 1 in the fastest possible manner. The business dynamics is changing very, very rapidly. The needs of businesses and needs of consumers are changing very rapidly. And what one of the primary role that technology is offering nowadays is to enable that as fast as possible. So I very well align with Kirsi there.
Okay, do you think generally though, would you say generally when you go out and talk to telcos that they're very focused on outcome rather than we've got to start using this technology, for example, AI, because we think everybody else is doing it and we're going to be left behind? I mean,
I believe there is a huge amount of maturity that has come in on the telco operation side, and as well as I would say on the vendor side. So most of the conversations nowadays is more about the strategy, the business problem that they are resolving. And for example, if AI is a means of doing it, or a cloud native technologies are means of doing it, that becomes a discussion factor. But the first thing that we start with in most of our engagement with some of the prime customers that we are working with, it always starts with a business problem. And that way, I believe it's the value generation that is the first thing that we discuss.
Okay, Matteo, when we were speaking previous to this event, we talked a little bit about how customer experience drives competitive advantage and drives value. Could you talk a little bit more about that and what you think telcos need to invest in and what they need to do?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, end of the day, when we speak about delivering customer value, the experience in which you deliver is extremely important. It's no longer about just creating services and offering to the customers. It's about being contextual and being relevant to the needs of the customers. And in order to do that, you need to really understand each customer very well. And the technology and AI and intelligence is kind of embedded into every interaction that is happening with the customers. Within Tecnotree, we try and call them as invisible intelligence. What that means is that you are no longer referring to customer information as in the form of certain dashboards, but it is ingrained into the journeys that gets automatically designed for every customer. And in that essence, every customer is experiencing something different, which is curtailed for their needs. And that's one of the strongest areas that we feel that as Tecnotree that we have been investing on, as well as what we believe has been one of the primary focus from the operators that we speak to as well.
Okay, thank you. Matteo?
Yeah, so I'll build upon what just said. First of all, definitely technology plays an important role in the operator strategy, and it does it along the entire growth path, in short, medium, and long term. In terms of long-term growth, technology is very close to the competitive advantage, and anticipation, scenario plannings also include the technology as a foundational part of an operator. And some of the key decisions are taken when it comes to long-term investment on the basis of those scenarios, and technology plays an important role in that. But coming back to your point about customer experience, that is a very interesting nexus, because there is a common place where both so-called engineers, so-called marketeers, so-called I would say agile developers, they come together, because a good customer experience is an end-to-end challenge. I'll give you a practical example to make it concrete. So a while ago, we decided to shift from in mobile to look at, we were looking at, the usual thing, I would say speed, how good are you in speed, the uplink, downlink speed. Then we decided actually to shift the focus. We kept very much coverage as a very important element. As you move from voice to data, coverage even become more important to go deep indoor, for instance. But then we looked at, what do we do with speed? We actually do the rat race on speed, or we focus on experience. Then we looked at experience on video, and we looked at that, in terms of, ability, a percent probability of delivering UHD streams on a mobile network. And since then, I think we have been constantly leading in mobile experience throughout, and that has been the common place where both, the more the engineers and the marketeer find themselves, and it's not only about technical measures, it's also about process. It's an end-to-end chain, and deliver the expected value, because customers do value the quality on video. And other elements on customer experience, of course, are the customer journeys. And that is where technology and all the digitalization process, and as you mentioned before, also various level of AI technologies, from weak to a bit stronger AI, needs to be employed, and they are today definitely applied across the board. Telcos have made good inroads into improving digital customer experience at the touch point, in entering the space of the market of one, and creating anticipation and delight also when it comes to the experience. I mean, we have set our bar higher, because we are competing. I mean, with the cloud natives companies that have that kind of mindset. But okay, we are on that, and that technology plays definitely an important role.
Okay, Kirsi, so when we think about automation, clearly AI and analytics are key elements. I'm just wondering how you choose your priorities in what you're going to automate, because you can't, unfortunately, do the whole lot at once.
Yes, that is a wonderful question. For Elisa, it has been a long road. We started our automation projects 10 years ago, so we've had kind of plenty of time to automate many areas. One area where I think, our development is absolutely can further, kind of the longest way, all the way, I believe, is our dark NOC, or zero-person NOC, which has been a great thing. The biggest benefit absolutely is the improved quality, because, the fact is that, the software, the code, it's much more prudent, much more diligent and standardized than any human operator anyway. So I think the biggest win there is the improved quality, allowing us to have like 15% less calls to contact centers, allowing us to reach hugely improved levels of incidents per year. So we've been going down with the total network incidents visible to customers. Within the years of automation, we've been going down 70%. So we are much on lower level than those days when we didn't even have 4G. So smaller networks, still much more incidents, due to the fact that humans do make error, or they do sometimes get a bit tired and so forth. So a great saving in OpEx, but then even greater thing, being able to offer like a superior quality for the end users, for the customers. And then how do we know, just commenting where to start, where to go. We believe in experimenting, taking very, very pragmatic steps and testing and trying. And we've been doing a lot of this in our network operations in each area, but also elsewhere, also with the customer interface, with the customer contact centers, all over the place. Actually, we just recently calculated that Elisa has done 300 experiments with AI and machine learning. Not all of them, of course, operational today, but within the past 4 years, 300 experiments, some small, some large, some even so big that we sell them to others, some already like out of use.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you to define quality, but I think you sort of answered my question there by explaining that it's a very diverse range of aspects that contribute to quality, which is kind of what Matteo said, referring to how it's where engineers meet marketers and everybody, it's kind of where those things all come together. Biswajit, what do you think? I mean, when you're talking to customers, are you interested in getting them to pick the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, do some easy projects to get going, or and get a bit of confidence in using a certain technology or achieving a certain outcome, or how do you go about it? Or is it more about what's available or what expertise they have, or?
Yeah, maybe I can build on top of what we have said earlier in terms of focusing on the value part. So I'll give you some concrete examples. There used to be a time when we go and engage with the customer, it was more about a very specific need that we have and a certain type of software that they were looking for, whether it was a CRM transformation or a billing transformations or whatever it may be. But that conversation has now completely changed. Most of our engagement nowadays, we look into what kind of needs that that a particular business has, and what kind of needs that a particular market has. For example, Tecnotree is, we have had very strong presence in Africa, and one of the aspects that we are working on at this point of time is that what is the new value add that we can create for markets such as that. Is there a possibility for us to bring services such as global education systems and make that accessible to the to people who have let's say access to a lower bandwidth or at a much lower value and aspects like that. So what we're doing at the moment, and most of the conversation that we are having nowadays, is to build that ecosystem and trying to tie services which are available at one place to another market and creating additional value. I've been quite lucky to be part of and living here in Finland. One of the biggest value that Finland brings is the quality of education that we have. Just imagine if we can tie a market which has that gap and bring that together, and the equity that we can create in the process. And that's the kind of conversation that we are having at this point of time, where it is going beyond the traditional way of implementing software or solving one technical problem to looking at a broader business problem and broader value that we can add to the economic fabric of that market. And that's been quite interesting, and that transition has been quite interesting in the last couple of years.
I'm quite interested in this whole issue of working in an ecosystem to deliver new services, because it's not something that telcos have done traditionally beyond the interconnectivity of their networks so that we can make international calls, for instance, or between mobile networks. I mean, that seems to me that's a big factor in operator strategy that isn't only partly about technology. And it strikes me that it might be more difficult than the technology. Kirsi, what do you think about that?
Right.
Well, that is an interesting, very interesting question. So how do we build the ecosystem and how would it work? Well, when I look at historically, so the network operators or the telcos, so they have always been kind of depending on software and hardware vendors, which can be also seen as a great big ecosystem as such. Then again, the area that maybe has not been, that has been the closed garden, is that the network has been, in a sense, closed, and the variety of services has been limited, and there hasn't been the opportunity for partners, for ecosystem partners, to in reality to greatly kind of contribute to the selection of the services. So maybe kind of with the new architectures, with 5G, service-based architectures, maybe that means that side, kind of the service creation, this introducing new services, that we can actually build an ecosystem on that side, which can be much more rich as, small partners, large partners, and everything.
Matteo, what about Proximus's approach? And I'm wondering about how much you embrace disaggregation and openness, which is also another kind of ecosystem creation. I mean, it's been interesting that in the last week we've seen Orange, Deutsche Telekom, Vodafone and Telefonica back Open RAN, and then I've seen a couple of things on LinkedIn from BT's Neil McRae, who's very not in favour of Open RAN. So there seems to be a huge difference of opinion when it comes to disaggregation and opening things that previously have been in tightly integrated systems. I just wonder what Proximus's view is and general approach. It doesn't have to be just the RAN.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a great question, Annie. So first of all, openness. I mean, you can have it at all levels. I would definitely agree that the time is long gone when telcos were just connecting and creating services, and we were just happy to deliver a final proposition, a value to customers. We now need to be part of ecosystems. Openness at level of infrastructure. We have created Proximus created a specific unit, network business unit last year. We are very open to welcome other players on our infrastructure and fixed and mobile. But openness is much more than that. Indeed, is actually how we can open up our platforms through telco software and APIs and get into ecosystems. So our experiences that we deliver either as an individual brand or together with partnerships and partner brands require that kind of integration. And that is coming and is already part of our daily life. It's very strong also in the enterprise business unit as well, where we create solutions out of our core telco capabilities. If you may name it. I mean, the thing that pops up in my mind is, for instance, drones. How you can leverage network to work with drones, specifically mobile. When it comes to infrastructure, so your question about Open RAN, I think there is the main objective of that approach is really to enhance the competitions on the vendor side, which is which is of course a very important element. I think is an open initiative, so therefore it's worth definitely looking to. Of course, it's done by large players that have large R&D units, so they can afford to invest. It is done under the auspices of Europe, which means the outcome will be open for everybody to leverage. What we do recommend is that openness needs to be accommodated by a business model when it comes to RAN. So it has to be clear clarity also on a business model and also in terms of operational maturity. Because I think, if we virtualizing at the level of platforms in order to benefit from scale, different type of scale. So at the same time also virtualizing because you want to enhance the ability to create services experience with the open platform is definitely very interesting, remains an operational challenge. But Open RAN, if you were to have the same level of integrations, I would say effort at the level of a RAN where there is numbers are different. So technology has to indeed, this effort will have to continue for quite some time because technology has to reach maturity. And we have to make sure that we are able to deploy our traditional service management. And on top of that, also helped by artificial intelligence that enter more and more into our network operations. And so we want all of that service management also to extend to newer technologies such as Open RAN. I think the jury is still out there. I think it's an interesting initiative. It is going to deliver probably, but it will take still some time. I don't know if that is answer your question.
Well, it's a tricky question to answer because I think it's about time, maybe to some extent. When I asked one of the big four whether it was just for the larger tier one players, the person I was speaking to was very determined it absolutely Open RAN is not. Coming back, Biswajit, to you, do you see a lot of your role with the BSS about providing a really open platform these days? I mean, that whole openness and APIs and being able to plug other parties and other sorts of services in must be a big part of your approach.
Absolutely. You know, as a matter of fact, most of the engagement nowadays, I think one of the fundamental things that has been requested as part of our architecture and as a core capability of our products to be able to enable open APIs, you know, API economy and being open in general about the capabilities that a telco operator has and enabling an ecosystem around it to create additional value has kind of been a theme across the markets that we're looking at. I think I can give a very concrete example here. We had recently implemented in Telefonica in Latin market where you know, the problem statement was that they already had a lot of their services you know, in the background and running within the network. But what was really required was to open it up to an open environment and create a marketplace around it. And that's where Tecnotree came in and you know, put together an open API platform to expose their existing services to the marketplace. And that, in a sense, a lot of the value that was earlier residing inside the operation could then be exposed to an external world and additional value could be created. So being open and providing open APIs and being open by design is something that is essential and very critical in today's conversation in any service that is being offered.
Thank you very much. That was interesting, 3 really different perspectives. Great to talk to you. Hope to see you soon.